Christmas 1925. Thomas the tank engine was as happy as can be. The Fat Controller had given him a branch line, and he had spent the last couple of months helping workmen lay more track to extend it into the hills. Starting from the river station, they built a viaduct, ran alongside the river, dug out a tunnel, and built a brand new station at Farquhar. Here they even built a shed just for Thomas. The blue tank engine was very proud of his work, and the passengers were always glad to see him. Getting up the valley has never been so reliable, they would say. He was a very happy little engine and would always get excited to greet his new friends at all of the stations. It seemed to him there was always something new to see. But there was one thing that got Thomas even more excited. It was nearly Christmas, and every engine on the railway was getting ready for the annual party held at the big station. "I hope to see you there, Thomas," Edward would say at the junction. "I wouldn't miss it for anything," Thomas would reply. One frosty morning, Thomas was telling his friends all about it. "The sheds are decked with lights, inside and out. Carolers can be heard singing from the station. A brass band plays, and best of all, the Christmas tree stands proud for all around to see." "That does sound exciting," replied Mr. Kindly. "You will tell us what it's like this year, won't you?" Mrs. Kindly asked. Thomas beamed. "Of course! I'm sure this year will be the best one yet." As he ran up and down the valley with his two coaches, Annie and Clarabelle, he couldn't help but daydream. Perhaps there'll be a Christmas feast this year. Tables and chairs all in a neat row for the workmen, with the tree at one end and me at the other. Annie and Clarabelle giggled. "You?" "Of course," Thomas protested. "I should be the special guest. My branch is the most important, don't you know?" "We do indeed," they replied. "You will be bringing us, won't you?" "I wouldn't dream of leaving you behind," Thomas whistled. Soon he would talk of nothing else to his friends as the day grew closer and closer. At the top station, Thomas was still daydreaming. "Could I have a wash down before we leave for the party?" Thomas pleaded. "It wouldn't be right to arrive all dirty." "And it wouldn't be right to freeze our hands over with cold water," his driver chuckled. "Just concentrate on your journeys. We've got a long way to go before the party, and the passengers are relying on us to get them home." "Oh, of course," Thomas said sheepishly. "I've forgotten them. Station master was telling me about the roads in the valley. He says they clog up with snow every year and people get stuck." "Exactly. We're not going to let them down now, are we?" "No, we won't," Thomas whistled with spirit. And he worked hard for the rest of the week, bringing his passengers to their loved ones on time, every time. It was a few hours before the party, and snowflakes fell all around. Thomas managed to convince his driver and fireman to give him a quick rub down before they left. "Imagine what they would say if I arrived with dusty paint." They were almost ready to leave. Thomas was sorry to be leaving his friends for Christmas, but he was excited to tell them all about the party. The snow was falling heavily by the time he backed on to Annie and Clarabelle. Suddenly, the station master ran up. "I'm afraid you're going nowhere. The valley's blocked with snow, and the telephone lines are down." But what about the party? Can't we plough through it?" The station master shook his head. "All the snow ploughs are at the big station. I'm afraid you'll have to miss the party this year." He tipped his hat before trudging grimly away. Thomas was heartbroken. All his excitement had been snuffed as he rolled into his shed and his crew bedded him down for the night. They waved goodnight, but Thomas couldn't speak a word. He looked like he was going to cry. As the town clock struck midnight, Thomas went unhappily to sleep. The party at the big station came and went with rousing festivities. Thomas had missed it, alone and cold in his shed. It was just as quiet as it was before when he awoke the next afternoon. The little engine yawned as he peered out of the window. The snow had stopped falling, but seemed to swallow everything. Time passed slowly, and so Thomas closed his eyes once again. He wondered if anyone would come and save him. But his rest was interrupted. Outside, he could hear Christmas carols. The sound got closer and closer as the carols paraded through the town towards the station. I hope they have a better Christmas than I'm having, Thomas thought. Suddenly, he heard a knocking on his shed door. "Hello?" Thomas began. "Who's out there?" The door was suddenly flung open, and Thomas's eyes widened. Outside the shed were tables, chairs, people singing and laughing, and best of all, a Christmas tree festooned with lights. "What's all this?" Thomas asked in surprise. His driver spoke first. "You told all your friends how you missed the party. They all decided we should throw one just for you. You've done so much for the valley," Mr. Kindly continued. "It's only right that we celebrate the most important engine on the whole railway," Mrs. Kindly finished. The rest of the crowd cheered in agreement. Thomas beamed brighter than the snow. He would have whistled in delight if he had the steam. "Oh, thank you," Thomas cheered. "I wish I could join you outside, but I'm rather stuck in my shed." He blushed. "Would you all like to join me?" "No need," the driver interjected. With a large rope in his hand, he tied it around Thomas's coupling. Everyone grabbed hold of it, and with the driver keeping the brake off, they all heaved Thomas out of his shed and into the daylight. That afternoon, he received presents, sang songs with his friends, and when dusk had fallen, they all sat down for a large Christmas feast, with the blue engine at the head of the table. Thomas was sure that in that moment, this year truly was the best Christmas party he had ever had.